Where are you going?
To see Faye.
Where's?
Cape Town.
Cape Town, South Africa.
Joseph and Lyndon follow Faye to Cape Town and make some surprising discoveries in Holby City. Tonight at 8 on BBC One. Also tonight, now that Max is back, how long before he discovers that what Tanya and Jack have been up to? EastEnders in half an hour on BBC One.
Hello, welcome to The One Show with Christine Blakely.
And Nikki Campbell. Adrian's off covering Euro 2008 again, so it's nice to have you back.
Again.
Yeah.
Great to be here. We are honoured to have one of Britain's finest actors on the sofa, starting out in Coronation Street, then becoming a major, yes, we're reminding you about that, major film star over here, and across the pond too. It is Pete Postlethwaite. Yeah. So you've done so much, which do you prefer, a low-budget Brit flick or a Hollywood blockbuster? Which would you go for?
Go the money every time.
What are you doing here?
No, not at all. Where did you get that clip? From Coronation Street? My God.
We have a good bunch researching.
No, they're all wonderful. They're all good. It's all about script. It's all about text. Whatever the text, when you read something that's really good, I mean, you read Lost for Words, for instance, I did with Thor Hearn, and you just go, this has got to be done. Or Brass Staff, it's got to be done. Or King Lear, which we're going to do. It's quite a good script, you know, so, some good writing.
It's
what it is.
Of course it is.
Horses for courses, really, whichever.
Yeah, well, alongside Pete tonight, we've got the One Show's Anita Rani, she's here, and Marty Jobson takes a look at a rather crazy but bizarre invention a little bit later.
Knife crime has been hitting the headlines all too often recently. Since Jimmy Mizen's funeral on Friday, 2 more schoolboys have been stabbed in southeast London.
So how easy is it for children to buy a knife in the high street? Anita Rani put it to the test.
This year we've been an almost weekly reminder of the tragic consequences of carrying knives, with 12 teenagers dying of stab wounds in London alone. Grim headlines linking young people and knife crime have become an all too familiar sight, and behind each news story there are real people whose pain lingers long after the headlines have faded. Lorraine Fraser's son, Tyrone, was attacked and stabbed to death by a gang of youths, the youngest just 16 years old.
He was a good person. He had a heart of gold. He was a mummy's boy. And I idolised him.
What effect has Tyrone's death had on your life?
I'll never ever get over it. I cry every day still. My heart's broke. I mean, my son was stabbed to death, and I feel that inside of me. I feel his injuries. I feel everything that day.
Are you angry? Who do you blame?
Society has let us down somewhere for these young people to be having to carry knives, to think that they have to have protection. Nobody needs to carry a knife. Knives cost lives.
Last year, the government made it illegal to sell one of these to anyone under the age of 18. And at the beginning of this month, the Prime Minister called for more prosecutions against 16 to 18-year-olds carrying knives. So why then, despite a change in the law and a tougher government stance, does it seem so easy for our kids to buy knives? Well, we decided to go undercover to find out.
This is the camera. It's called a lipstick cam, and that's what's going to be hidden. All we're going to do is press this button here. There you go. This is Fiona. She's just 16 years old, and anyone who sells her a knife, blade or axe could face up to 6 months in prison, a £5,000 fine, or both. We sent her to randomly selected stores in Manchester city centre, kitted out with a hidden camera, to see just how seriously shopkeepers were taking the new ban on selling knives to under 18s. And we'll follow what happens from the back of our production van.
Hiya, can I have those, please?
Yeah, sure.
Can I have one of those kitchen knives as well?
Which one?
The one with the serrated edge.
That one?
Yeah, that one, please. Cheers.
I can't believe how easily she just bought that knife.
90.
Cheers,
There
thanks.
you go.
So here she goes again into another shop. I wonder what will happen this time.
Got a nice one there, but it's 200 quid. Do you that for 40 quid if you want. Should be 47. But it's just a normal
That's
knife.
such a frightening knife. Like, there's no... He sold her the hunting knife.
Hiya, can I pay for this here?
Sorry, I can't. It's just so easy to walk into some of these places and buy a knife.
Thank you.
Straight up to the counter, handed over the money, no questions asked. It's incredible.
See ya.
And another one. That is a criminal offence.
We decided to show our evidence to a trading standards officer who had conducted a similar investigation into young people buying knives. We wanted to see what he thought of the shops in question, which included a very well-known high street department store.
So there we go. The transaction took place. Our 16-year-old bought a kitchen knife. What did you make of that?
It's an illegal sale. It's an offence potentially to sell a knife to a person below the age of 18, and yet we've just witnessed that happen in a quite straightforward manner.
And what should the shop assistant have done?
If the shopkeeper was in any doubt at all about the age of the person buying that knife, they should have asked that person to justify their age and to prove how old they are. But that seems to have taken place here.
So what could be the potential repercussions of this?
A fine or potentially even a prison sentence against the seller could be imposed.
But not all the shops Fiona visited flouted the rules.
Have you got some? I've got to see ID. Have you got ID on you?
I'll just check. No, I'm afraid I've left it at home. Can't you without ID?
You come in with ID and we can do it and then we'll...
bear that in mind next time.
So Andy, we've just seen someone being refused a knife there. What did you make of that?
The shopkeeper has asked for identification, none has been provided, so there's not been a sale. I think that's the golden rule to follow. No ID, no sale.
Hi Fiona, show me what you got. And more. Incredible. So in total, out of the 10 shops we sent Fiona into here in Manchester, 6 sold her a knife, no questions asked. In one afternoon, in one city centre, 6 shops committed a criminal offence, putting a potentially deadly weapon into the hands of a young person and onto the street. And that's very scary.
Something's got to be done, and it's got to be done fast, because more young people are filling the graveyards. Some of these shopkeepers, they're not bothered. It's a sale to them. It's money. They'll sell to young kids and not even bat an eyelid. But they've got blood on their hands, in my eyes.
Well, Anita, 6 out of 10 stores, which is shocking. But in fairness, a lot of these shops maybe just aren't aware of the law. They're not entirely sure what stance they're supposed to take.
Possibly. It came into play in October of last year, but we're talking big department stores, and we did see some of them refusing. So 4 did actually know the law. When it's law, there's no excuse, really. And the lady at the end said, you know, it's about profit. The bottom line, they just want to sell their wares. You wonder why a 16-year-old can go into a specialist gun and knife shop and be able to pick up a knife.
That is particularly distressing, actually.
And she got a discount as well.
The thing is, we seem to read about these crimes on a weekly, if not even a daily basis. Do you think, Pete, we are living in a more violent society? And if so, I suppose the question is, why is that the case?
Gosh, you'd be an expert to say why, but I definitely think we are living in it. I think it's surrounding us worldwide. I mean, you've only got to look at what's happening in Zimbabwe at the minute, and this is what's bombarding youngsters as well as all of us with extraordinary violence. You look there, you look in
There's always been violence like that, political violence for those.
No, but it's very evident now.
Kids, you know?
It's in our faces all the time. It's on the screen. It's there. It's, you know, it's even in video games. It's in all that kind of stuff. It's kind of, it's there, very much.
So are there enough things on screen then? You say it's on the screen. Are there enough uplifting pieces on screen, pieces that make us, films, whatever, that make us feel good about the world?
Well, I think the balance is the other way at the minute. I think the downside is winning at the minute. I think it's very hard to get people to feel positive about being youngsters. It's very hard.
And the things that they do have to look towards, which are positive, are they necessarily the right sorts of images, the right aspirational messages that young people need? I mean, who are the role models, and what do these children have to look forward to? And why is there this culture of fear? You know, what is it that makes children feel that they need to protect them?
And this kind of status thing as well, you know, to have a knife, then that makes you cool.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that that's kind of been talked about, and Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London, has mentioned that he wants to make knives uncool, but I don't know whether children do carry knives because they think it makes them cool. I think there is a genuine fear, a culture of fear, and they feel for whatever reason that they need to protect themselves. Well, there's no excuse to carry a knife, because if you're carrying one, chances are you'll use one. What we need to do is find out why children feel that they need to carry them. And they don't, it's almost like they don't have a respect for life, their own lives, let alone anybody else's.
Well, I'll tell you, the next film you will absolutely love, because I know you're a man of the countryside.
Yeah, living in Shropshire, aren't you, Pete? So you'll appreciate this next bit, hopefully. We're talking flowers. Flowers, there's a bit of a shift for you. Flowers that are so rare and indeed beautiful. They're worth a special visit, especially when they only come into bloom for just a few weeks in the spring.
So, to give you a look at one of Britain's rarest plants when it's at its very best, we sent Mike Dilger to Iffley Meadow on the outskirts of Oxford.
Meet the Snake's Head Fritillary, one of the rarest, weirdest and most beautiful wildflowers in Britain.
And it's a very important day for these gorgeous little flowers, so I do hope they're looking their best.
Good line, nice pace. Middle, slow down.
This might look like a cross between a crime scene investigation and a medieval dancing ritual, but these volunteers from the local Wildlife Trust have got a very important job on their hands.
They're not counting every single flower. Instead, they're using a special sampling technique to work out how many flowers are growing in the whole meadow.
Gavin, you have to be really careful. You tread, don't you?
You do, yeah.
So why are you counting them every year, then?
Well, we count them every year to monitor the population. What we want to be able to do is always report that they're increasing in numbers, which they have done from, say, about 200 flowers back in 1983, right the way through to 65,000 flowers, our peak number in the last couple of years.
Terrific. The reason for this success is that any cows grazing on the meadow are taken off well before the fritillaries come into bloom, so the flowers don't get trampled on or eaten.
They're quite fussy little devils, though, aren't they? It's not just a question of getting the grazing right. You've got to get the water level right as well.
Yeah, they're well adapted to the wet conditions. Every winter, it's practically a lake here.
Really? We'll be standing in water
Yeah, we'll be standing in water. Sometimes it'll probably be almost up to your thighs. It can be quite deep here.
And that doesn't bother the plants at all?
They can cope with it. They can cope with it.
But floods aren't always good news for the Snake's Head Fritillary.
Flooding hits Oxford, where hundreds of people are evacuated from their homes. Dozens of communities are put on alert.
Last summer, the River Thames burst its banks in July, flooding the meadow at a very bad time for these delicate little plants. And this may have had a disastrous knock-on effect on this year's blooms.
What's meant to happen is after they flowered, they put their leaves out, absorb the sun's rays, recharge the bulb, ready for the next year, just like onions do. I mean, incidentally, you may have noticed that onion prices have gone up this year, and that's because of what happened last summer with the floods.
Of course.
Because a lot of the onions were rotted in the ground, and that's what we're worried about here, because the fritillaries don't really like flooding going into the summer. This is the most critical year in our count so far.
So how does Gavin think this year's count will turn out?
If I'm truly honest looking at it, I instinctively feel that the numbers have gone down slightly. But, you know, we're hoping there'll be more. We want it to go from 60,000 to 80,000 to 100,000.
A million!
Yeah, why not?
More!
Why not? Yeah, maybe 1 million fritillaries. It'd be great.
We want to see a purple haze.
And there's just time for me to take part in the line dancing. Sorry, I mean the survey.
I'm feeling left out. Can I have a go?
Oh, if you could just all stop a moment, guys. That's brilliant. All you need is a bamboo cane, and you hold that in your left hand, next to your body like that, and you basically walk forward and you're counting everything in front of you and everything in front of your bamboo cane to the left. Okay. All you need is counting skills.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, go.
I feel like a botanical teapot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 3. I'm losing count. I've got a big patch coming up. Here we go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Beautiful.
Bizarre.
Yeah, and Pete just tells us Mrs. Postlethwaite takes part in this, does she? She counts her wildflowers.
She does this. Yeah, they do. They're very keen to find out what's exactly in the meadows and things like that. They're very passionate about it, which is great. And we didn't cut the lawn this year, and there's all these oxide daisies and things have all come out. It is fantastic.
Well, you're leaving your wildflowers behind for this new BBC One drama, Criminal Justice.
Criminal Justice, yeah, indeed. Yeah, cracking thing. That's turned out to be really something else, I think.
We can take a look, actually. Here you are playing your character, Hooch.
People want to take a long, hard look at a new man before they go anywhere near him. So just let them look. Don't talk just yet.
Is there anything else?
Yeah. Milroy. He won't go away.
What should I do?
Whack him. Lock up.
Oh, Pete, you're good.
Oh, no.
Spielberg said one of the greatest actors in the world.
No, he said he thinks he is one of them.
When you get
good.
Clearly, it's a great script there and a great character for you, that sort of moral ambiguity that you play so brilliant.
Yeah.
But when you get a script, whether it's for that or Usual Suspects, what is it about that bit of paper that makes you say, I'll do that?
The writing. It is the writing. It's how it's written. And very often you can get a clue from a single word, I think, a little tiny thing that makes you go, oh.
Like?
Well, like a Usual Suspects you just mentioned. I remember there was a line in the scene where the two goons get blown away in the lift, and Chris McQuarrie, the writer, 24-year-old writer, had written, Kobayashi deigns not to blink. And you think, he deigns not to blink. Now, what is going through that man's head that he doesn't even blink at this? And it gives you a massive insight into the thing. So the thing with Criminal Justice, we only read the first 2 episodes because that's all we had at that time, and the writing was stunning. And I thought, if they can pull this off and realise it and cast it right, which they have, Ben is stunning, Ben Whishaw all the way through, and every support is really good. It's a cracking piece of work. I mean, it's quite interesting because you think, I don't seem to be pushing something, but actually I believe in it. I do believe in it. I think people have worked really well on it and really excellently, and they've pulled out a great piece of work. We'll have to wait and see what you all think now, but
You're pleased with it?
That's my bit. Yeah, I am. I'm thoroughly, very, very pleased with it. Very pleased.
And that kicks off next week on BBC One.
Next week it is. They're being brave. They're showing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, one after the other, 5-hour episodes. And it's worth a watch. Worth a watch.
Yes. Last year, the UK's Patent Office received more than 17,000 applications to protect our weird and sometimes wonderful inventions.
But only 2,000 were granted, and just because an idea does get a patent doesn't mean it's any good.
So with that in mind, the One Show's techie buff, Marty Jobson, has decided to see whether an idea that was patented in the 19th century would have actually worked.
Hats off to him.
Regrettably, we live in a rather impolite age where sadly manners no longer maketh the man. But it wasn't always like this. In a bygone age of chivalry, no polite gentleman would ever fail to doff his hat to a lady. Morning, ladies.
Dr. Martin.
But for a popular chap about town, hat doffing could be quite bothersome. And if a gentleman's hands were full, well... Good morning. It's a positive nuisance. However, failure to doff one's hat was quite simply a shortcut to social disgrace. I sense an opportunity for a man of ideas. Step forward one Mr. James C. Boyle, the author of a patent aimed at remedying this ghastly inconvenience. I give you the saluting device of 1896, an automated hat doffer. Now, what I want to see is whether Mr. Boyle's curious concept in courtesy will stand the test of time. And to do that, I'm going to have to build it. So this is a fiendishly complex clockwork device. And essentially what happens is when you tip your head forward, the hat pops up, rotates round, and then sits back down on your head. But the clockwork is fantastically complicated. There's no way I'm going to be able to reproduce that unless I use electronics. Right. This is how I'm going to get it to work. I'm going to use this. It's a little electronic tilt switch. Now it'll detect when I tip my head. I've got an electric motor here with some gearing that runs really slowly. And lastly, to make it pop up, I'm going to use, well, a solenoid, which is basically a big coil of wire attached to a battery, makes an electromagnet, works like this, you see. Simple as that. Well, you get the idea. The problem I've had with this patent is getting the hat to pop up far enough. You see, hats are oval, so's your head, so they won't turn round. So you have to make it pop up so that it'll go round. If it doesn't pop up enough, the hat just jams. But I think I've got it sorted. Right, this is it, the acid test. Now, I'll tip forward. Oh. It did it! I think. It's a bit high off the head. I might try a different hat. Hold on. That was quite good. It works! But will Mr. Boyle's device prove a convincing alternative to the manual hat doff on the streets? I'm heading for Harrogate, because if there's anywhere still governed by manners and etiquette, it's this Victorian spa town. This place is posh, and it knows it.
Good morning, good morning. We've danced the whole night through. Good morning to you.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
It's intriguing.
Intriguing
Yes,
indeed.
yes.
But is this a suitable alternative in your mind?
No, not a suitable alternative.
You'd rather have a hat, a proper, an old-fashioned hat.
I'm afraid so.
Good morning. It's a lovely morning. Good morning.
Oh, wonderful.
Do you like that?
Oh, I do. I suspect
So
it's
hold
better
on.
for the ladies than the gentlemen not wearing it.
I think I would be happy with the modern version to save the gentleman having to put down all
Would
his
you?
bags.
All
Yes.
right.
Oh, there you go. So that's a success. That's a
Yes,
success for
that's
Mr.
what
Boyle's device.
It's a lovely morning.
I think the old-fashioned way to
You prefer the old-fashioned?
I'm afraid I do, yes.
So do I.
It takes more effort from the individual.
I think you should put your keys down and
go through the
yes,
effort.
absolutely. It makes a lady feel like a lady, doesn't it?
Good morning, my darling, to you.
Oh, Marty, you know how to impress the girls.
There you go.
Don't you?
Surprised you weren't arrested, Marty.
And the thing is, we've got to
Surprised it didn't
say,
set fire to my head, actually, but there you go. It gets rather hot.
we were saying, just mentioning earlier on, I'm not sure how long that would last on the Dragon's Den. You know.
Moment.
I'm out.
Yeah, I don't think it would actually work. I don't think this man ever built this patent, having built it myself. I'm convinced it's
See, I'm still not sure
fatally
exactly
flawed.
how it does work.
Well, hold on.
It's battery powered, isn't it?
Let me take that. Isn't it?
Don't mess the hair, Marley. Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Put that there, and then there you go. So it's all batteries in there,
If
and
you
it's the
went
weight
by
of
time like
batteries.
that, that's quite interesting.
Yes, that would get you noticed.
You'd definitely be arrested, wouldn't you?
But you can't beat Pete. You can't beat Pete. A bit of chivalry, courtesy.
Why not? Exactly. They were all interesting, though, the ladies and stuff there. They were saying, no, we want the proper thing. We want them to do it properly. And do
Well, a couple were sort of seemed to be happy with this.
They didn't mind.
They didn't mind, but most people just sort of ran away, to be honest.
It's really weird because we like the phones now. We like to go bum, don't we? We don't like to do the dial on a phone because it takes time. People just want to go. But actually, I quite like being able to do that because that gives you can remember who you're talking to anyway, who you've got a phone. But they did seem to want instant courtesy, didn't they?
Yeah. I think we're lacking in that. We were just saying that earlier, aren't we? There's not enough people holding the doors open. Gentlemen are not gentlemen anymore.
But what do you do when you hold the door open for someone and they don't acknowledge it?
Oh, I get very angry. That's what I do. Isn't it terrible? Anyway, I could go off on one about that, but I'm not going to
Feel
stop.
free.
Yeah. Instead, I'm going to talk about marmalade sandwiches, an old suitcase, and a duffel coat. There's only one furry character that comes to mind when we think of them, isn't there?
Paddington Bear. There he is. Now, you may be surprised that there's a link between Paddington Bear and tough-talking Top Gear presenter Jeremy Clarkson.
No, Paddington hasn't gone and bought himself a Ferrari. Oh no, it's all because of Jeremy's mum, Shirley.
To some people, this may look like an ordinary farmhouse, but to me, it's where I helped to start a British institution which changed my life.
You're a very small bear, said Mrs. Brown. Where are you from? Darkest Peru, said the bear. I'm not really supposed to be here at all. I'm a stowaway.
The first Paddington book was written in 1958 by Michael Bond, and 13 years later it gave me an idea for a Christmas present. This is the room in our old house where I made the very first Paddington bear. Oh, goodness me. Didn't look like this in those days. We couldn't afford carpets, so we had brown paper on the floor and an old army table. I got a couple of yards of fur fabric from Doncaster Market, got some plastic eyes, a black bead for his nose, a bit of felt left over from the tea cosies that we used to make, and bought a pair of Dunlop Wellingtons from a local shoe shop. And this is the very first bear I made for my children, Jeremy and Joanna. Do you remember, as a Christmas present, 1971? What?
That was Father Christmas.
You made it?
Yes. No. Oh, you didn't think Father Christmas had brought it, did you?
Yes.
Oh, that's definitely mine.
Mm-mm.
Is it? Can
It
tell
isn't.
mine, it is.
When I die, there's going to be a terrible argument, isn't
We'll saw it in
there?
half. Can't say that, can you?
That way or that way?
Straight down the middle.
All of Jeremy's and Joanna's friends wanted a Paddington too, and suddenly we realised we could turn making them into a business. At our peak, we were making nearly 90,000 a year. To cope with this enormous demand for the bears, we had to convert our house into a bear-making factory. This was the fold yard full of cows, which had to go to market, I fear. And then over here we had a pigsty, which we converted into an office. We then bought the village post office, and that became a design room. And the whole place was just one big bear factory.
By the time I got to 16, I turned into something very ugly, as you probably remember.
I do
With that
remember that.
really ugly and with a concave chest and arms like pipe cleaners, and thought, I'm never going to be able to get a girlfriend. And then suddenly realised that Paddington was this huge draw. Yeah, my mother designed Paddington Bear.
Ah, that's why I never had any boyfriends, because they didn't have quite the same.
No, it didn't. Mind, you didn't make enough money to buy any tea, did you?
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
Paddington became a global phenomenon, from the books selling in their tens of millions to being the must-have toy of the 1970s.
At this magnificent row of Paddingtons, they go on and on forever.
From royal births to prime ministers, everyone wanted one. Although, strangely, not all our salesmen were successful.
81 I won the worst salesman ever award, because I was utterly
You
rubbish.
were bad.
I hated
Yes,
it.
you were bad, I must admit. No, your heart wasn't in it.
I really hated it. I hated being in hotels in Wales in the middle of the night, all on your own. Because you'd be sitting having supper all by yourself. Got no mates. I'm a salesman. I sell bears.
Paddington. Come along, Paddington, said Mr. Brown. I expect you're hungry after your long journey.
In the books, Paddington became part of the Brown family, but he's part of the Clarkson family too. What's it like to have your mother actually in control for a change?
No, it's brilliant. It is brilliant. I am very proud of you.
Oh, that's
I
very
am
nice.
proud of you. It is amazing that it just became such a success out of one Christmas present.
There's an exclusive. Jeremy Clarkson used Paddington Bear to get himself a girlfriend.
That's fantastic.
Says it all, doesn't it?
Listen, Pete, great to see you. Good luck with criminal justice. What's next? I mean, with your varied career. How about Doctor Who? Do you fancy doing that?
I do Doctor Who, yeah. It's very good, isn't it, these days? Yeah, no, whatever the scripts go, that's where we'll go.
It's all in the script. There's another exclusive, eh? Thank you very much, Pete. It was
No
lovely
problem.
to meet you tonight. Thanks
My
very
pleasure.
much for coming in. That is it for tonight. Thanks also to Anita and Marty on tomorrow's show. Soprano Supremo, Leslie Garrett is with us.
And we look at the rise of black majority church in Britain, which is a fascinating topic. And the One Show's bug expert George McGavin finds out why a new species of ladybird is a force to be reckoned with.
That's it. It's all in there. Tomorrow at 7. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Max is back. EastEnders up next tonight on BBC One.